Hey everybody, it's Joanne Musa, the Tax Lien Lady, and I am here to answer your questions about investing in tax liens or tax deeds. And I know we've gotten some questions ahead of time that I will be answering today. But just when you come on, say hello and let me know where you're coming in from, because tax lien investing is different in every state. As a matter of fact, it can be different in different counties or different cities. I go to some tax sales, well, one in particular in a city in New York, and I've been to two different cities in New York, and it's different in both cities. They're in the same county. The county sells deeds, but both of these cities sell liens, and they do it differently. They even have different redemption periods. And I have investors, coaching clients who have been to other tax sales in the villages in New York, um, in, um, in either Nassau County or Suffolk County, and those are done totally different than the ones that I went to. So even in the same state, depending on which sale you go to, it can be totally different. But most states are pretty much the same throughout the state, because most states, each of the tax sales go by the same state statutes. Okay, there might be little differences depend on the tax collector or county treasurer, but the laws are the same in most states, not in New York. Okay. All right. So I'm waiting for my assistant, Nicole, to get here, because I know she has some questions for me to answer. And one question that I got a question from Eunice recently, and she wanted to know which states, and I get this question a lot, by the way, and the way she worded it was a little bit differently. She said, which states, and I forget exactly how she worded it, but I know what she was asking was which states the interest rate doesn't get bid down. Which states have the same interest rate. It doesn't matter what you bid at the sale. So that's really not what you want to look for. And I will tell you why. Because at states where the interest rate doesn't get bid down, now, obviously she's looking for the best bang for her buck, the most interest. She's looking to make the most interest. But here's what you have to do, because the states where the interest rate doesn't get bid down, the property, they pay premium in those states, okay? And sometimes the premium, you do not get interest on your premium. So that effectively lowers your interest rate. All right, now all redeemable deed states, you do get interest on the total amount that you bid. Okay, so all redeemable deed states are good in that respect. And there are some lien states where you do get interest on everything that you bid. Okay, but in other states you don't. As a matter of fact, in Colorado, you do not even get your premium back. Even though, and there are other states like that, you bid premium, you don't get your premium back when the lien redeems. Okay. So that effectively lowers your interest rate, even though the interest rate stays the same, right? And I think that was her question, like which states have interest rates that stay the same or something like that. I can't remember the exact words. And thank you for that. Nicole just put in another question. And the other question that Eunice had was, what about the OTC? Where can she get OTC liens and deeds? And that is something that I don't do. I was just talking to a tax collector about that yesterday. I went to a tax sale. I did not get anything at this tax sale. I just took notes. And the reason I didn't get anything was everything was bid at premium, except for there were a couple of small liens, but I didn't want them because I had to go to the bank and get a certified check after the sale. And the bank was like, 20, 30 minutes away, and I didn't, and I had other stuff to do yesterday. So I wasn't going to go to the bank and do all that trouble for two like really little small liens. But if you wanted these little small liens, you could have gotten them at 18% because nobody else bid on them. Nobody else wanted them either, right? But all the good liens went at premium, and I didn't have a lot of money at my disposal at this particular sale. So I didn't bid high premiums. But I know even though when you bid premium, it decreases your interest rate, you can still get good interest rates on some liens, even when you bid premium like that, because you get to pay all the subsequent taxes, get the maximum rate on your subsequent taxes. You also get a penalty on the certificate amount. There's a lot to take into consideration, and it's different for every place. So here's what I suggest, that you really learn your area. Now, I think Eunice was in California, which doesn't have liens. So you might go to a nearby state, like the nearest state that has liens, nearest state to California is Arizona. Or you might consider deeds in states like Washington and Nevada. I would not consider Oregon. And you could even look at deeds in California, even though they're pretty pricey. But the idea is to find the best place around you and get good at that first. Now, but why aren't the OTC liens good? Well, and as a matter of fact, I was just talking to this tax collector. I kind of got off on a tangent, but what I was saying is I was at this tax sale yesterday, and I was talking to the tax collector, and he hates it when people ask him about the OTC liens, because New Jersey, it's really difficult to get the OTC liens, and he tries to tell people that they're really not good because he knows what's left over. He's there when it happens, because there's all these, for instance, the last sale that he's a tax collector in another town as well. And the last sale, I asked him about that sale, and there were 4 big players at that sale, but there were some liens that just didn't get bought, and they went to the municipality. But he told me that when all 4 of those people do not bid on it, there is something wrong with the property. Okay. And this is a tax collector. Why would he lie? But he tells me that people come to him and they think he's lying to them when he tells them that, right? So anyway, OTC leftover liens, not a strategy that I do. Not a strategy that I help my clients do, but I have coaching clients that are pretty successful. One just got 3 liens in New Jersey. A couple of them were at 18%. And that was his second successful sale. He already got a lien at, I forget what the maximum rate is. He didn't pay any premium for a lien he got in Indiana, because in Indiana, you don't bid down the interest rate, you pay premium. So he got this one without paying any premium, so he got it just for the certificate amount. And that was his first successful sale. That was a couple of months ago. And now he just had his second successful sale where he got 3 liens in New Jersey. And I had another client that a month ago got her first deed in Texas. So yes, you can do this at the sale and make good money. You just really have to know what you're doing. So I definitely suggest that you get a mentor or a coach, even if it's not me, but somebody that really, really knows. All right, so we have another question here from Priscilla James. And this is a pretty broad question, guys, so you're all going to benefit from this one. I am new to this industry and would like to obtain more information about it. My question, however, is when it comes to tax liens and tax deeds, I would assume there is a lot of competition, especially out the auction. And yeah, we just got done talking about that. Yes, there is. How do you overcome that? Great question. Here's what I do. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So you just, in some states that like New Jersey that has a lot of little municipal sales, I have to go to a few sales sometimes to get liens. Or in states that have big county sales, you just have to pick the sales that have a lot available. And here's what I teach my coaching clients to do. And I show them how to do this because, again, it's different for every state, but you want to get the results of the last tax sale because that tells you how much money you need and whether it's worth it to go to that sale or not. Okay. And what type of properties aren't bid competitively. I mean, if you think you're going to get yourself a house through this, go to your real estate agent and get a house that way. It'll be much easier, right? What I do if I want to buy houses, I buy them from the auctions and from HUD. I bought 2 houses in the time since I've been involved in tax liens. I bought 2 houses at auction, not tax deed auctions, just regular auctions. One was online and one was a live auction that an auctioneer did. And the other way I bought them is from HUD, from the banks. You know, did I buy a property from a tax deed sale? Yes, but it wasn't a house, it was land. And really that's the type of property that you could get good deals on, are land in tax deed sales, not houses. And if you think you're going to get a house from a tax lien, you're not going to get a pretty 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. You're going to get a very distressed house that needs total rehab, most likely, or it might need some rehab and you could rent it out. I have a client who before COVID got 3 liens in the commissioner sales in Indiana, and he actually got one. It doesn't happen that often, I will tell you this right now. He had, the original lien was, I think, under $5,000, but by the time he was done paying the attorney, the subsequent taxes, evicting the squatter who was living there, right? He had 36, and rehabbing the property. He also had to do rehab the property. He had 36,000 into it. So he got this house in Gary, Indiana for 36,000, and it rents out. It rents out for, you know, as much as I pay in mortgage on my house, about $1,200 or $1,300, which is pretty good. So for, you know, because my house is worth a lot more than that house is, right? But you get good rents even though the property values are lower. So he's very happy with his investment. He made out very well. So one of the things I do is, as I just said, is I look at the results of previous tax sales and find out if it's worth it to go and what type of properties aren't bid as aggressively. And those are the type of properties that I target. I also like out of the way places. Sometimes, and it's different every year, sometimes I get lucky and I get some properties and sometimes I don't. Here's another thing I do. I like to target tax sales where there is a lot of sales on the same day. Now in New Jersey, they don't have all their sales on the same day like they do in some states. But there's a lot of sales going on in certain months, like in December. So I pick either for the online sales or the live sales, I pick a day that has a whole lot of sales going on. And those are the days that I like to pick. If I'm doing an online sale, maybe 2 online sales that day, and one of them is bound to be good, okay? Or if it's live, I'll pick 1 live sale because there's only one of me to go to it, right? And I'll try to pick the one that's in an out-of-the-way place. And here's another tip to answer that question. I pick the tax sales that don't have a lot of big liens, because the big liens, it's like shark bait. You know, all the sharks come out to feed on the big liens. Okay. All right. So let me see if there was any more to Priscilla's question. Okay, her first question was on overcoming the competition, which is what I just spent some time talking about. And she asked, do you need a lot of money in order to participate in this type of industry? And it depends on which state you're investing in, what you consider a lot of money is. I will tell you that it depends on what state you're going to. Some sales where they bid up the price of the deed, or not the deed, but the lien, some tax lien sales where they bid up the price of the tax lien and you get interest on everything you bid, those premiums can go quite high. All right. So you're going to need more money at those sales. sales where they bid down the interest rate, you don't need as much money for those sales. But some of the online sales, you need to put a deposit. They take that deposit to be 10% of your budget, and you have to have that budget. So for some, you need $10,000. For some, you need $5,000. Again, depending on the state, depending on what platform they're on. So that kind of depends. The answer to that question, how much money do you need? That depends. If you're actually buying the properties at the auction, you need more. You need more money. And Priscilla also asks, are there strategies that you can use in order to obtain tax lien certificates with the possibility of obtaining the property? You have a little more chance of obtaining the property when you are able to put more money into it and get interest on all your money. For example, redeemable deed sales. When you pay premium and you're getting interest on all your premium that you pay, and those premiums get pretty high, well, the owner of the property has to pay not only the back taxes and the interest and fees on the back taxes, but they also have to pay the interest and fees on everything else you bid. So it's a little harder for them to redeem. Also, you want to target properties where the owner doesn't live there and that do not have a mortgage on them. Your chances go up a little bit. The other thing that you could do is target very distressed properties. I've invested in quite a few burnt out, boarded up properties. I've started foreclosure on a couple of them. They've all redeemed except for one that I sold while it was in foreclosure, and whoever bought it from me, they did get final judgment. They did get that property. Okay, but that's the first time that a property that I started foreclosure on actually got foreclosed. All right, Reggie is asking, is it best to catch someone 4 years behind on their property taxes instead of 3? If so, can you explain why? I need to know where he is from. Yeah, I need to know where he is from. Reggie, I really can't answer that question. I need some more specific information. But I will tell you that I don't know what you mean by is it best to catch someone when they're 4 years behind instead of 3 years behind. I don't know if you're trying to buy the property from the owner before it goes to a tax sale, in which case in some states, if you wait that long, it'll already be sold. But okay, so in Alabama, I'm not sure. It depends on what you're trying to do. Are you trying to buy the property before it goes to sale, or are you trying to wait until it goes to sale and then buy it? Maybe that is what you're asking. And I think in Alabama, the sooner the better is the sooner the better. The sooner you approach somebody or the sooner you can buy it, the better. But remember, if you're buying it from the owner, you are going to have to pay whatever they owe. If there's any mortgages on the property, you're going to have to pay that. All right. Any other questions? Any other questions? And say hello. Let me know you're here. I know we have a couple people watching because I can see. I see you. So let me know where you're from and say hello and let me know your questions. Hi, Phil. How do you keep up with all the liens and redemption periods? I imagine it can get complicated if you have a lot of liens purchased. Manually, Excel, software. 2 ways, actually 3 ways I can give you. And depending on, and from South Carolina, you really don't need, from South Carolina, Phil, you don't need anything extravagant. All right. You're buying a redeemable deed. There's a 1-year redemption period. All you need is a spreadsheet. I use a software program that's not available anymore, unfortunately, but it's customized to certain states. And you know what? South Carolina was one of the states it was customized to, but unfortunately, it's not available anymore. There are other software programs out there, but they're geared for institutional investors. So they're not really geared for individual investors. So I recommend, especially in South Carolina, just use a spreadsheet. You want to know the date you purchased it, where you purchased it, the particulars, like the tax ID, the amount you spent, and then you'll just put something on your calendar for when the redemption period's over. It's a year redemption period. Yeah, South Carolina is not that complicated. A lot of redeemable deed states are not that complicated. It's the lien states that can get pretty complicated. Okay. All right. Yeah, thank you for your question, Phil. Anybody else have any questions? Or just want to say hello? Tell me where you're from. Because oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Phil. Yeah, I took a client down to South Carolina before COVID, and then I had another client. That was 2018, and then 2019, I had another client do a lot in South Carolina. He bought a lot at a lot of the counties in South Carolina. So I like South Carolina. It's one of my favorite states. My advice to you is pick distressed counties, pick distressed real estate in distressed counties. Yeah, don't be afraid to bid on things like trailers, land, as long as you're getting the property and you don't have to pay rent for the property that it's on. One thing you do have to watch in South Carolina, there is a cap on what you can get paid. So unlike, I gave out some information earlier about when it's easier to get the property in states where you pay premium and the owner has to pay the interest on all that premium. Not so in South Carolina because they limit what you can make in South Carolina. There's a cap, there's a limit as to what they'll pay. In other words, they pay 12% per year, 3% every quarter, but they will not pay you more than the certificate amount. So the smaller that certificate amount is, the smaller amount you'll be paid because you'll only, let me give you an example because this like trips a lot of people up. They don't understand this. So let's say the lien is only $1,000 and you bid $20,000 to get that property or the lien, the deed, redeemable deed to that property. And it redeems in a year. Well, you're not going to make 12% on your money because they will only pay out in interest $1,000. That was the amount of the, but let's say the lien was $3,000 and you paid $20,000 to get the lien. You will make 12% on your money because the lien was $3,000 and now your cap of what you will get paid in interest is $3,000. So you probably won't even approach that, right? Because you're only getting 12% on what you bid. And if it redeems during the redemption period, you'll make the whole 12%. Right? Because Yeah, because that would be under $3,000. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Any other questions? Great, great questions today. We had some that were given in advance and just a lot of great questions. So I hope the people who gave those questions in advance at least watch the replay if they're not here live. And if you're here live, let me know. Let me know, say hello, and let me know what state you're from. Okay, so if you find this helpful, share it. Let others know about it. Let others know, that they can get their questions answered. If you're in a Facebook group about tax liens and deeds, as a matter of fact, we have a free group, Facebook group that you could join called Investing for Success. And Nicole, you could put the link for the Investing for Success Facebook group in the comments. And all you have to do to join is answer some questions like, are you interested in tax liens and tax deeds? And do you agree to our terms? Basically, I don't know, there might be more questions. There might be 3 questions, but I know those are 2 of them. And you answer those questions and we'll let you into the group. It's a free group. And there's over 700 people in that group. And you know what? There's some training in there too. And it's all free. Okay, so let me know, what is your most burning question about investing in tax liens or tax deeds? I'm here to answer your questions today, and we're doing pretty good. It's been almost 30 minutes, and I've answered questions from I think 4 different people. 3 of the questions were given ahead of time, and 1 was asked by someone here. So I am going to take a sip of water, and I'm not going to hang around all afternoon, but I will hang around a couple more minutes to see if you have any more questions. Been doing a lot of talking, so. All right, so any more questions? Any more questions? It's not too late to get tax liens or deeds before the end of the year. There are tax sales or early next year. And, the first week of January, Texas and Georgia, the first Tuesday of the month, have tax deed sales. Florida has, those are redeemable deed sales, by the way, in Texas and Georgia. And right now there's a couple going on in Tennessee. And I think there's some coming up in Delaware, or they might be going on yet this month. And deed sales in Florida all the time. And right now are some tax sales still going on in New Jersey. December is one of the biggest months for New Jersey. Now we only have less than half of the month left. So, but a really good time to go to tax sales is around the holidays. Yeah, because people are busy around the holidays. Okay, so if there's no more questions, we're going to end this session of Ask the Tax Lien Lady Live, and I will be here next week. So I wish everybody a happy holiday season. If you're celebrating Hanukkah, have a happy Hanukkah. If you're going to be celebrating Christmas, Merry Christmas. And anyone that celebrates Kwanzaa, I really don't know when that begins and ends, but just wish everybody a really good, safe, healthy, happy time this time of year. And I will see you all. I will be here for tax lien investing tips at 9:30 in the morning tomorrow and Thursday. And then I will be here Monday morning for tax lien investing tips. And then we'll do Ask the Tax Lien Lady Live Tuesday at 2 p.m. next week. Hi, Diva. Good to see you here. And happy holidays to you. All right, guys. Enjoy.